All right, we are going to get our packaging net ready to laser out. So you should have a DXF file ready to go. If you do, you can keep watching this video and we'll get you all set up and ready to cut out on the laser. The first thing you need to do is open up CorelDRAW. CorelDRAW is usually on your desktop. If you cannot find it, you can go and search for CorelDRAW. Looks like this little green pencil icon. And you can open up a new CorelDRAW file. Close out of this and just do a file new. When you create a new file, we need to set the workspace correctly. So the width for our CorelDRAW file is going to be 32 inches and the height is going to be 18 inches. You need to have these settings set up. I'll click OK, and you can see that in front of you there is a workspace that is 32 by 18. That happens to be the same size as the bed of the laser you're going to be using. These following steps need to be followed very closely so that we don't have any errors or mistakes in the lasering process. To bring in a DXF file, we will go to File and Import. You need to find where your file is saved. Mine happens to be in Google Drive. Yours might be someplace else. You can navigate to find that file. And click Import. Now, this is a really important step. By default, the units that are going to be brought in are not inches. Okay? You need to select inches, or English, 1 unit equals 1 inch. If you don't select that, it might not come in the right size. I'm going to click OK, and I'll have this little 90-degree angle symbol. This is going to be where the top left corner of your net. So I'm going to put it in the top left corner of the workspace. All right. I can click off of the object to deselect it. You can see that every line that you drew in Inventor is a line that you can change in CorelDRAW. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that all of these lines, okay, I'm going to click and drag a box around them. All of these lines are hairline in thickness. Now, I highlighted this, and in the bottom right-hand corner, it tells me the thickness of my lines currently. They happen to be not hairline. There's the thickness to them. And you can change the thickness by this little outlining pen tool. So, for example, 4-point is really bold, but hairline is very thin. We need hairline lines in order to use the laser for this project. So they are now hairline. We should be good to go. The other thing that we need to change is the colors of these lines. Okay. Now they come in black. All these lines are black by default, but I could change the color of any line by right-clicking on any of these colors over on the right side. So for example, if I hover over red and I right click, they all turn red. If I left click, notice that is the paint can, not the pen. Um, that isn't what I want. Okay, I want that to remain an X. That's called a fill. So I'm going to left click on this X, and you can see I have a fill of none, but an outline of red and hairline. So I could choose red or blue or green. Okay, we're all going to choose the same colors here so that it's easier once we um, do the lasering. So we are going to right click on red. Okay. Now the problem with cutting it out right now is that it'll cut every single line, and you would end up with all sorts of pieces that aren't connected. It would cut this line here, which would cut the tab off. So what we need to tell the laser to do is engrave certain lines and cut certain lines. I'm going to left click on this line, and I'm going to use now a blue color and right click. And now I can tell it to engrave the blue line and cut the red. You need to look over your net and change every line that is folding to a blue line. Don't forget, otherwise, you'll end up with a panel that's cut off. Some lines like this, ooh, there we go. That one is ready to go. If for some reason this whole side would have been selected, come and see Mr. Rue. He will help you get some lines drawn in so we can just engrave this one segment of a line. All right, so we have lines to engrave. We have lines to cut. The last thing we need to do is we need to put your name on this package. So think about how it folds up and where you want your name to go and what orientation you want your name to be in. So first, a little bit about the text tool. It's right over here with the letter A. I'll left click on that. And I'm going to left click somewhere off of the page, and I get a blinking cursor. Please do not click and drag a text box. That's inconvenient to use. So we're going to just left click. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just type a name, and we can change the size of it. We can skew it. We can highlight it and change the font. So you can do a lot with text. You're going to want your name. If you want to give the box a name, maybe this is the Fantastic Puzzle Cube, and you could put IED in there. Obviously, this is too big, and so I'm gonna justify this to be centered. Maybe there's a lot of different fonts to pick from. Find something that's fun and unique that fits your theme. Okay, and we need to not only be able to shrink its size. You could also, just a side note here, you could just make certain parts of it bigger or smaller by choosing different sizes. Maybe you want the name to be more pronounced, an IED in your name to be smaller. Okay. So how do you think about this? If this is the front and it goes on here and it flips up, my text would be upside down. So what you can do is you can, using this cursor tool, this is called the pick tool, you can click on it and you can then rotate, right? Maybe you need it rotated 90 degrees or you need it rotated this way. Depending, you have to really think about how it's going to um, be in its final state once it's rotated. Other ways that you could rotate with the pick tool is right up here. You can see 360. You could go 90, or you could type in 180 or 0. Okay, I'm going to pretend that I need it to be rotated 90 degrees. And I'm going to make sure it fits on my panel. And maybe I want to even fantastic puzzle cube, 2 lines. Okay, don't just be satisfied with a boring font, and you gotta think about how you want this to look. All right, so we want the lettering to also be engraved. So we need to make this blue, like the lines. So I'm going to go ahead. Remember, we right-clicked, and that made lines a different color. Well, right now, I just want the paint can to be blue. That's a left click. And I do not want to right click, okay? A right click will add an outline to this. So take a look here. If I right click, there it adds an outline to it. So I could have like an outline in green or yellow. I don't want any outline. I'm going to right click on the X. Okay, so right and left click does matter. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and the last step here is to figure out how big of a piece of paper do I need to cut this out. Well, these rulers on the top and bottom are going to be your friend. So I'm going to left click and drag. There, that's 8 inches. And right here, I'm going to left click and drag. I'll just round it up here. That's at 12, 18 to 12 is 6 inches. So I need a piece of paper that is 6 by 8 in order to cut this out. I'm going to save this file. I'll do a save as. I'm going to save this to the shared folder. So under student shared, RU IED, packaging. Please put your name in here. So this would be RU package. You're now ready to actually laser out your package as long as you have set up the laser, which will be a demonstration we do in class.